Hi, I'm Tanya Roby, Kripalu yoga teacher and also the founder of Rise Together, my organization of educators doing outreach and education with Young Living essential oils. And I wanted to take time to create this video just to pour into you yogis and yoga teachers and other members of the healing arts community to share a little bit about the how and why of Young Living essential oils and why as a yoga teacher I chose to weave that into the fabric of my classes and my life. So first of all, let me just share a little nugget about my story with yoga, which is that back in 2007, after renovating an apartment that I'd purchased in Philadelphia, I threw out my back really badly, and I was bedridden for months, couldn't walk, pinched off that sciatic nerve, threw off my hips, and I was in really rough shape. Was blessed by some pro bono physical therapists that lived around the corner from me and friends who were willing to take care of me, but I really couldn't walk for several months. And when I was at the pro bono physical therapy place around the corner, one of the first forms that I had to fill out was, what's your goal? What's your goal? And at this point, I was walking with a walker and a cane, if walking at all. And I saw my hand write down on that piece of paper, I want to get back to yoga. And at that point, I'd been doing yoga just for maybe, I don't know, less than a year, doing power yoga in the city, mostly to lose weight. And I was surprised. I was kind of surprised that that was what had come up for me. And needless to say, by and by, bit by bit, as I rebuilt some of the muscles in my back and in my hips, I made my way back into yoga classes, but a very different style of yoga than I had been practicing from a more fitness perspective. And it was through yoga, through breath work, through journeying inward in my body and rebuilding the parts of me that had been knocked out of place, both emotionally as well as physically, I regained my ability to walk. And it felt like the first time that I had really embodied a miracle. And I was blown away. I was blown away by it. And so I decided to go on to become a yoga teacher. And I went to Kripalu. I feel very, very blessed to have trained with Brahmani Liebman and Jashoda Edmonds, incredible teachers, Brahmani and Jashoda. And they really brought me onto this journey of self-discovery and self-love, taught me that there are tools for transformation, taught me that there are ways to be in residence in this body from a place of more self-acceptance, more self-compassion, more joy. And that was life-saving. That was life-saving. And then fast forward 2 years later, so that was back in 2010. In 2012, I meet my sweetheart, Tama Jackson, who works with Young Living essential oils. His family are healers. He grew up around the oils. It was just kind of his way of being. And very soon after I met Tama, actually while I was up at Kripalu assisting a YTT, a yoga teacher training, my beloved grandmother passed away. And we knew it was coming, and I'd said my goodbyes, and I thought, I would be okay. But grief hit me like a train, and I kind of went home and crawled into my empty bathtub in a bunch of sweaters and, just stopped eating and was just in grief, deep grief. And I was newly dating this guy, Tama. And he called and he said, look, I know that you're in pain and I know you don't really feel like hanging out, but I'm just curious if I could bring something over to see if it might support you emotionally. So hesitantly, I allowed him to come over, and he shared with me a couple drops of Valor essential oil on the soles of my feet and Joy essential oil. Those are 2 blends from Young Living. And it was like in a matter of seconds, my appetite came back. It was like my body became aware that I hadn't eaten in a couple days and that I would feel better if I put something in, and I was able to have a smoothie or whatever it was. And so it wasn't like, poof, my grief was gone. But as somebody who's always worked with navigating emotions, that was huge and profound in me. And as someone who had been through not just physical transformation, physical support from my yoga practice, but also more importantly, in many ways, emotionally supportive, when I was able to plug into the bigger energy inside of me and the bigger mystery, things got better. And so when I started using the essential oils, I personally, I used to get headaches all the time, smelling scented candles, people's perfumes, like insta migraine. I've always been kind of resistant to smells, but these smells were different. And when I would use them, I just felt better. So as a yoga teacher who'd been, studying energy now for 5 or 6 years at that point, this was fascinating to me. So I started sharing them with my mom, who's also a yoga teacher, and I shared them with my sister, and I started sharing them with, closest friends who would come to my yoga classes. And by and by, I brought an extra diffuser and brought my diffuser into the classroom. And what I started to notice, quite simply, was that when people used the oils, they felt better. And that they could be used in so many different ways. So that was thrilling to me. So I started to study, and I went out to Young Living's convention back in, let's say, I think this was 2012. And before the day's sessions, there was an optional yoga class with essential oils offered at convention, and I was like, what? Wait, this is a thing? People are doing this? And so 6:30 in the morning in Utah, I got out there and took my first yoga class, which had oils braided into the class, and I was sold. You know, I was like, this is amazing. And so I have been teaching what I now am calling yoga infused, which are traditional yoga classes, and I teach the yin variations, I teach restorative, I teach hot, I've actually taught a couple of hot infused classes. Important to be mindful of which oils you're using when you're working in a hot room. What I see over and over is that you can use it in any style of yoga. And it's a lot of fun, and I feel really blessed. I think that all the lineages are amazing, but one of the things I love about Kripalu yoga specifically is the emphasis on the inner journey, on the inner inquiry, on really witnessing and watching and feeling and becoming more and more aware of the layers of who you are, the more subtle layers as well as these, you know, more gross physical layers. So what I love about the experience of a yoga infused class is that it allows people the opportunity to dive deep into postures and to also have time with plant frequencies, with plant prana. I'm going to talk more about that in a moment, and notice where they feel, how they feel supported. One of my dear friends said to me once, you know, Tanya, I feel like ever since I brought Young Living essential oils into my home, I never have to suffer alone anymore. And I think that a lot of us drop to our knees in prayer, find our way to yoga and meditation and other means of self-care from a place of need. These are tough times, and I feel so grateful to have so many tools for transformation. So quickly, just a kind of quick overview. You know, if you are watching as a yoga teacher or as a yoga practitioner and you're wondering, like, how can I feed this in? It's quite simple. This is the formula. I'm just going to share it with you. You know, you might think about a yoga class as having five stages or parts of the class. You have your opening meditation and grounding, your warm-up, soft and standing sequences, then on the back sequences, and a final relaxation. Different yoga classes have different flows, but you might just kind of visualize for yourself what are different chapters of a class where it might feel good to pause for a moment. And then what I like to do is pause for a moment if I'm teaching the class, bring people into a comfortable position like mountain pose or child's pose, or simply seated so they can really receive the oil. And during a class that's about, usually for an hour and a half class, I personally will use 5 oils. You can use 2, you can use more than that. There's no wrong way to do it. There's a lot of right ways to do it. I like to do 5, giving people a nice variety of things. And then it's pausing, sharing the oil, and then guiding. So for example, instead of just sitting and finding our seat and coming right into breath work, I'll often start with asking people to scan the body and just notice how they feel, and then come around with an oil like maybe eucalyptus to open up the breath, or lavender to bring in that relaxation, or something like peace and calming or stress way. Another thing I love about Kripalu lineage is they talk about, and I see this in a lot of different teachers, theming a class. And so working with oils with a theme, whether that's emotional transformation or working with a certain body system, amazing. Okay, I have to pause here and step back a little bit because essential oils are really hot right now. There are a lot of essential oils on the market. I can't believe I've seen them in gas stations now. I see them at, you know, at Target. And just know this, and this is really important, not all essential oils are created equal. And quality really matters, especially if you are a teacher putting oils on other people. Number 1, make sure you always have their permission. But number 2, please don't use anything other than grade A essential oils. So know this real quick. Right now in the United States, essential oils are still regulated as part of the cosmetic industry. And so what that means in terms of labeling and customer safety, in my opinion, it's about safety, is that companies only need to have 5% pure essential oil in a bottle in order for it to be labeled 100% pure. Okay, that's not pure and that's not safe to put on the body. Aromatherapy today in the United States is still taught that you can only smell oils, not to put them on topically or internally, and that is because of the lack of regulations and the lack of standards here in the United States about what is actually a therapeutic grade essential oil. So let me explain first, to make more sense, I hope, what are essential oils. So listen, if they're pure, yogis, essential oils are prana. They are plant prana, right? We work with yoga to cultivate, to come into contact with, to awaken our body's energy, that life force that lives inside prana. Essential plants have that same living energy that is working to keep the plant alive, to draw in the nutrients, to feed it, to keep it strong and healthy, right? And so essential oils are, when they're pure, they are that life force captured from the plants while it's still vital. Okay, so we're working with a living energy, which is why yoga and essential oils are really fun to play with, right? So again, just to think about this, you might imagine, yes, can we all agree that this body is energy? And can we also agree that at different times in life and during the day, some of our energy systems can feel compromised. Some of our physical systems can be compromised. Sometimes the immune system is compromised. A lot of stress in the body can compromise a lot of the different body systems. And so we use pure essential oils as a means to bring energy, bring prana, bring life force back into that stream, right? So if if my immune system is compromised and I'm wanting to really boon my body, I might work with something like thieves essential oil, which has a lot of constituents that are going to work with my body's immune system to bring me back up to kind of neutral, and then my immune system can heal my cold, can take care of me. So how do I support my body so that my body can do what she knows how to do, which is heal and transform and grow and change, right? So in order to have that kind of experience with essential oils, they have to be pure. Okay, they have to be pure, and they need to not be messed with, right? If a plant is sprayed with herbicides, pesticides, any of that, in the distillation process, all that nasty chemical is coming out into the oil. If they're distilled at the wrong temperatures, if they're too hot, the medicinal quality can evaporate away. So it's a very specific science, and the reason that I'm partnered with Young Living, the reason I choose Young Living, is because they're different. They have what they call seed to seal. You want to look for that little seed to seal stamp on the bottles, and that means that you can trust that from the time the seed is chosen and planted all the way through the time it's in a bottle, nothing but love and sunshine and fresh clear water has been put on these plants. And so you're working with something alive, you're working with prana. Okay, so we come back. You're using Young Living essential oils. You're playing, and now maybe there's more language in that. So coming back to how do I plan a yoga class? How might I bring it into my own home practice or offer it? I'm going to give just a couple of suggestions. So, for example, picking a theme like a body system. Okay, right now I'm recording this in fall. This is a time that has to do with letting go, with release. I think of the organ of the colon. I think of letting go. So I might do a class that has a lot of support for digestion. Okay, so right now, jot down what are the first few postures that come to mind that you know as a posture that really helps digestion, right? So twist. So if I was leading a yin or a restorative class, for example, I might choose to share. I could look in my reference guide app or just test my what I know from my own use. What are some oils, essential oils that support the digestive system? So Digize or peppermint, two great oils, right, that support the digestive system. So I might say, okay, everybody, we're about to move into twist. Come down onto your back. I'm going to come around with this oil, Digize. This is what's in it, or I might share a little bit about that. Let people choose if they want to receive the oil. Because Young Living is pure, it is safe to put it on topically, to inhale it, and even to eat some of the oils, which is so awesome. So we will apply it. I'll talk people through it. We put it on the body, and then we go into twist. Right, and then it's back to breath work and yoga, and then we might come out of that pose and move into the next. So fun to think about. What are other, we're doing a class that really focuses on the hips. For me, hips are emotional. That's where I store my emotions. Young Living has so many blends to support the emotional body, blends like harmony or joy or peace and calming, stress away. So I might do a whole class about, releasing the emotions from the hips, and use postures like pigeon pose and figure four, and pairing oils that I know help me feel better. So I hope that's clear. I hope that that's enough of an invitation that you can take all that you know as a yoga teacher, as a yoga practitioner, and all that you start to feel more and more as you add the oils in, and see what comes. There's no wrong way to do it. And bring frankincense into your meditation practice. Oh, such a blessing. Okay. The last thing that I want to say before I jump off this video here in just a couple minutes is that I want to take a moment, as I'm talking mostly to yoga teachers and practitioners of yoga, maybe people in the arts or the healing arts. The piece that caught me by surprise was also the possibility to make Young Living, doing outreach and education about it, sharing these tools of transformation and helping other people feel more empowered in their capacity to feel good and feel energized and feel vital in this lifetime, that I could actually open up another stream of income in the doing of that. Just the other day I was in my yoga studio, the yoga studio where I teach. I don't own a yoga studio. And one of my fellow teachers, who's an extraordinary teacher, she packs the room every time. She's wonderful, and she's pregnant, and she was talking about how, being on Medicaid, and, and it was just like this joke, like, aren't we all? And there was 4 yoga teachers in there, and we're all nodding our heads, like, of course we are. It's like I kind of, even in my early years of trying to get off the ground as a yoga teacher, there was this kind of acceptance of, poverty as some spiritual means, and that I was going to teach and be generous and trust that the universe would provide, and what I want to say is that I think that yoga teachers, artists, people in the healing arts, we have some of the biggest gifts to give, and they are the gifts that people need now more than ever. More than ever. And our work in the world offers a phenomenal funnel to be able to partner with a larger mission. Young Living's mission is wellness, purpose, and abundance, essential oils in every home around the globe. And their values, the way that what they do with the Young Living Foundation, pouring into communities in need all over the globe, including here in the United States and places like Uganda and Nepal. The way that all of the money that goes into the foundation goes directly to the foundation, that the company itself is in the process every month and every year of buying up more and more land that will be organically farmed and sustainably harvested. There's so much good pouring in to bring in tools that, in my experience, have absolutely changed people's lives. So the profession of doing outreach and education for Young Living is a part-time thing. It's a learnable skill set. It's an option. It's not for everybody, and if it's not for you, that's fine. You can absolutely be a customer and user of Young Living essential oils without sharing them, without doing that. But I am so grateful. I am so grateful. These oils have transformed my practice as a yogini and as a yoga teacher. But it's more than anything, it has continued my spiritual path and my path of awakening. And now, as a gold leader with Young Living and growing, for the first time in my adult life, I'm making enough money to be able to do the kind of real teaching that I want to do in the world. I now have the time, freedom, and financial freedom to be able to show up to my family in ways that I couldn't when I was working all the time, hustling to be a yoga teacher and work all these other gigs on the side to pay my bills. It's amazing. It's a blessing what we have to offer the world. And I think that if more enlightened, inspired, heart-driven people had more money to contribute to bringing good into the world would be a better place. So if you have any curiosity about how you might, layer in these practices of using the oils in your yoga classes to bring in an income, an extra on the side residual income, please reach out to the person who shared with you this video. Or if you're finding me on your own, please feel free to message me. And many blessings. I hope you enjoy your journey of transformation through yoga and Young Living essential oils.